Assalamu alaikum. Today is day 16 of PHP in DDCDP23 and part 6 of building MVC framework in PHP. We have come a long way and we have achieved a lot of stuff already in this framework, but we will complete the remaining crud part of this framework so that any database table can have crud associated with it built in. We will just need to have some small boilerplate code, and a new database table will have all the crud functionality. We will also create a wrapper class around the twig rendering function so that we don't need to return response all the time from the twig rendering method we were doing. And we also will introduce get and post requests in the route so that the route matching is based on get or post methods as well, so that if route is meant to be just for example post, it should not be accessible via get the same route. So that's what we will do as well. Without any further ado, let's dive in. Okay, I have made one change from yesterday. The bamboo CSS link which we had added to base.html.twig, that was not working well. It was slower, but this one is very fast, which is known as simple CSS. So you can go ahead and download this link for yourself. This is simple.css. So just include that CDL into your base CSS. And now I have a darker version of the form article new. Okay, so yesterday we were able to add articles to the database table, and they are displayed on article-all pages. But normally in frameworks and something like Drupal, once you submit an article or some page, it gets redirected to that particular page. So right now it is showing us all the pages, but it should be something like article/5/view, something like this. So it will basically show you the article which gets submitted. So that's what we are going to achieve now in this next exercise. So if I go to that screen which we had used in the previous lecture, what's that application called? Freeform. Yes. Okay, so this is a control action will be accessed if a URL is needed. So for example, if I need something like article/id/view, so what should I need? An action in the controller, and then it will include a twig template, whatever it is. So let us redo those steps now. The first thing is we will need to create a route path or controller. So in the controller we have for article, maybe at the base of it we will create a new one, public function view. And what should be passed to view? The ID. And this view thus we will fetch one article from the database table with this ID. Do you agree?
Yes.
So which part of this MVC framework should do this fetching?
Model.
Good. So in the model we need to have a function, and we already have a base model here. just like yesterday we created a function which was get all. So it selects all from the table name and then returns the records. Now we will create another one which will be get public function get by id. So it will be passed an id and it will return an array. So let us just quickly copy this code from get all method. Select all from table name where $id equals id, right? And then it should be prepare SQL, and what we need to do is we need to just bind the value as well. So this is id, this is colon id basically. We can use it as well.
Not this one. Second one is the way this is.
And second one should be
It is the value. The first one is just the index.
no, it will be id like this, and we need hard coded this, so it will be PDO colon
int.
paramount. Is this okay?
Yes.
And then we will execute it.
Fetch.
Execute will work, right?
Yes.
Execute, and what should we pass to it?
The ID.
Execute. Okay. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it will not be just one record, right? Okay, for example, if it doesn't return anything, if there is no ID like this, so what should it return? It should return false, right? So record is this, and now the controller action should call this function, right? We'll go to the controller action here, view. So it should call this dot model get by id. And what's the id? This one, right? So if this is true, what should we do? And if this is not true, what should we do? So that's what we need to do something now with that. If it is true, means this returns something. So we can even assign it here, record equals this. If it is true, we will manage it here. Otherwise, we will return false, and that false will be throw new exception, and it should be URL not found. So for example, if somebody gives article /100/10 and it is not returning anything, it should be URL not found exception, right? Or maybe article does not exist, something like this, and we need to include exception. And we already have page not found exception also, probably we had created it. What was it? Page
Route not found.
route not found exception. So we can include it here.
Yes.
which has already been included for us. Is this clear? So each time we need one article, we will need this. If record is equal to this, it should return that record, and in the else we will be executing the article does not exist exception. The next is, so if it is true, it means we need to pass let us simplify it. Like this. Okay, we will improve it a bit later. So if it is true, if $record, if not record, so throw new route not found exception and article with this ID does not exist, right? But if it is found, otherwise, so it means it is found. So $, we will include a twig file, right? So how to do that? This dot twig dot render should we pass the name of the twig file. So we will create one new, so single article dot html dot twig, and the values passed should be what? It's an array with record, or maybe article should be $and record. That's it. And we should wrap this in, and soon after this exercise we will create a wrapper function for the twig so that we get rid of this. But for now we will use this dot response set body, and we will pass this to that method, and then we will return response. This dot response and return. Is this clear? Now the next step is to create this single article.html.twig file. So we will go to the twig files in the article section, and maybe we need to give it the article / single article. Okay, inside the article we will create a new file, name it single article.html.twig, right? It should extend. Let us quickly copy some code from all.html. Okay, block body, if a record is not empty, so we are not going to loop through the record, we will just display it because this is just one record, right? So we will remove ul okay, and here we need to have, maybe the title should be h2, and then we should have a description of maybe a div, and then record dot description. That's it. And we need to, okay, this is fine. Now how can we test it if this URL is working fine? If I go to article 5 view So if it is working well, it should give us article. Is this view or what the name of the
Single article.
no, I mean the controller action view. Okay, let's pass ID model if not record. Is not about article single article .html article is record. Okay, this is article, not
Yes sir, this is not record.
so we will change it to
Article.
article dot title and article dot description. This if was not getting true in the previous version, that's why it was not displaying. So if I refresh the page, hopefully
Change the if condition to article else. You are getting a record.
thank you. It is outputting something. Maybe we go to view page.
No div and h2 is printing.
Are we returning associative array? If we go to the base model, just to check if things are fine, in the query, get by ID, all from table name.
I think fetch after the execute.
Here,
So you have to fetch one record, just like we are fetching fetch on.
The-
So this is just the execution of the queue, not fetching the record. Not fetching the record.
yeah. So do we need to?
After the execute, we have to fetch the records.
Like this?
No sir. New line sir. Double sign the record.
Fetch. We need to pass something to execute to fetch it, probably. Fetch underscore. Fetch a source.
We don't need to store it in a record. At the executing time, sir, we don't need to store it in a variable. After that, if you are fetching the record, so then you have to store it in a variable. Remove or cut it.
So then,
After that, sir,
so what I should do?
create a variable, dollar sign the record, equal statement, dollar sign statement, and then error bracket, and then fetch, sir. Yes, sir, and then PDU fetches source.
Good. You can pass it. Fetch
Yes.
source.
And then right now we'll have a record, sir.
Good. So
Yes.
good. That was what we were missing. We can pass something to the execute also as an array, probably some values. I'm forgetting that, but this is good too. Okay. The next is so we are now getting one record with which, if I zoom the URL for you, so this is article/1/this, and if we for example 6, so 6 will show its value. And if I give it some high value, so route not exception, article with this ID does not exist. Okay. The next is, why did we want all this to happen? So that when the form is submitted,
Yes, sir.
we should go to this get this submitted record. So this is a bit involved. Why? Because we need to make some changes. Right now, if we submit the article, it goes to the form action is article process, right?
Yes.
So from here we should redirect the user in the process. This is the process for the action, the form action. So here, if everything is fine, it redirects to article this.
Yes.
But we should redirect to what? /some ID, whatever is the new ID, and then all, right? So how to get this ID?
Last insert ID.
Exactly, last insert ID, right? So for now we will just have a hard coded value of ID, and we are now going to determine this. If result, so ID is something, right? We have okay, I will leave it here, and then in the model it is calling the insert method, right? So we will go to the insert method of the base model, and this is where all the logic should happen. This one, where is insert? This one, the insert, right? So statement execute, it already gets the ID for us. This is insert, right? And we have the database connection as well as the PDO. So how can we create a new method somewhere here, public, or maybe private, protected is fine also. So function get last insert ID, right? How do we get it? It is always with PDO. This is the connection, and then last insert ID, return get last insert ID, right? But if so here from the controller you get confused, even I myself get confused at times, but you will get used to it. So controller's article in action, how can I get now that this dot model dot get last model dot, okay, that should be public, because we need to access it from so where it is, model get class insert id, right? And we should assign it to this id. And then it will use it and it will get redirected to this dot view page. Now get it? So now when the form is submitted, it will go to this. Okay, but I know it will have a 0 in it probably. If we go to article/new and I submit football is a good sport and submit it, and luckily it is working fine against my expectations. So we are on article 14 view. If I zoom it for you, the URL, so this is that URL for last insert id, right?
Yes.
So if now any article is submitted, it will go to the one which has been submitted. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, we need to make it a bit easier. If for example I want to edit it, or delete it, we should have two buttons here, edit and delete. So how can we add those links, and where should we add them?
Next page.
Which page? View. The view base. So this is the single article page. Here outside of this if statement, we should have two links. By the way, Twig provides you links based functions also. We will know them once we are in Drupal or Symfony, but for now we will have hard coded links. So the link should be edit this article, and then next link should be delete this article. The path should be article/edit. For edit, it will be the ID of this article, right? So whatever it is, it should be dynamic, and we will check how. Maybe article.id. Do we have ID in the article?
Yes.
And similarly for delete, it should be article slash
Article
ID and slash delete. So do you think we have these two route values? Article say this dash edit, sorry, edit and delete with these values we need, right? If I save it and refresh the page, so edit this article and delete this article, and the path is article/14. Article spelling is not right. Article. Is it okay now? Okay. So now we need to create these two routes for edit and delete. But before this, we need to improve a bit of our code, and that is, for example, if I go to any of the controller actions, for example the view, so what we do is we are using the response set body and then setting up the twig and then returning the response. This is 2-line code. We need to minimize this code. We can improve this further. So what we need to do is we will create a wrapper class for twig, and we'll go to framework. This is the framework. So we can change the viewer class also, which we had previously, this one, but we will create new file and call it twig viewer .php, right? This is PHP, and framework namespace should be framework, class is twig viewer, and here we need to have a render function, public function render, and what should be passed to twig, or maybe in the constructor public function underscore construct. Here we should pass the twig slash environment twig variable. Do you agree? And we can use that, means use here, use twig slash environment. So here it only will be environment twig. So when it is past this, what can we do? We will have $sign this dot
Define a variable inside the class.
So it's good here if we just do it like this. Private is fine also, because we are going to use it here only. Okay, so private environment twig. So this is the variable which basically is we can access here like this. So here in the render function we will pass two things. What? Name of the file. So file or template, we can call it template, and the second one is array $sign data, which should be empty by default, and template is a string. Okay, so once this twig variable is available to us, we can call what? $sign this dot twig, right?
Yes.
This dot twig and render. That's what a wrapper function can be. Twig has a render function, and we are creating a function above it, render. It basically will be pass this template and this data, right? Okay, but it should be within the response body, so we can assign it a response also. We'll need to pass the response class also to private response and response, and we'll use response here, right? Okay, so this dot response dot set body this, and then we will return this dot response.
What is this render function? The above render function?
This one,
Yes, sir.
this is twigs. We are including twig here.
Yes, sir. The
So,
twig render function.
Original twig render function. This is our own render function.
Yes, sir.
So we will include twig viewer in our code for after this, and then we will just call the render function.
Okay.
So we will get rid of these two lines which we have been doing.
Got it.
For example, if we check it here, this is our current controller. If I go to
We are doing it
Twice.
in each file.
exactly, so
That's it.
this is we are doing this dot response set body, and then passing the article, single article, then returning the response. So in order to get rid of these two lines in just one line,
We can do it.
we can do it that. Okay, so twig viewer.php and save class twig viewer. Okay, so in our controller now we will pass twig viewer.
Yes, sir.
Should we be worrying about these two variables, twig and response? Okay, let me just ask this question a bit later. So and we will need it in all controllers, right?
Yes.
We will need this twig viewer in all controllers.
Yes, sir.
So what should we do?
base controller.
So we have a base controller here.
Yes, sir.
This is the base controller, right?
We have to define it as the base controller.
Yeah, so just like set twig, we have
Yes, sir.
set twig here,
Yes, sir.
right? We will create, we are not removing this for your maybe backup code, but we will create a function set, and we can do it in the constructor also, but right now we will call it set twig viewer, and it should be passed what? Twig viewer twig viewer and we will include twig viewer in the use framework slash twig viewer, right? So here this variable will be assigned to, we should create a new public variable, or in protected is also fine, protected twig viewer what? Twig viewer. Okay, so this dot twig viewer equals this dot this one twig viewer, whatever is passed to it. Now we need to pass this to this constructor. Where should be that code where we need to call this set twig viewer?
For every controller.
For every controller. So where is that code in our? It's in dispatcher. Here we are setting all the before the
Yes, sir.
controller action.
Set twig, sir.
So controller, first we need to get it from controller. First we need to get the twig viewer class.
Yes, sir.
So twig viewer equals what? From where we will get it?
And this
Container
get
get,
twig viewer
and it is
twig viewer.
twig viewer. Good. And we should include use the twig viewer class at the top. Twig viewer, and it should be framework. Okay, so twig viewer equals this dot container get twig viewer class. What it should return us? This
Yes,
object,
yes, sir.
and then set twig viewer, and it should be passed what? Twig viewer. Twig viewer. That's it. Is this okay? Set twig viewer and twig. Now in the controller, what changes we need to make?
Call the twig viewer and then the render function.
Yeah, so just if I remove all this code, this is for the viewing, okay? Single, and even we don't need to do this now. It automatically will be returned. So it should be this dot twig viewer. It is available now, and then the render function. Just this one liner. To achieve this one liner, we did all this. We created a class, wrapper class above the twig, and now we just don't need to bother about returning the response. We will just call the twig viewer and render that particular. Hopefully it will be working. We have done a lot. So to test it, I will go to 14. Must be of type framework response. Okay. So maybe there is some problem in the twig viewer .php function. Body Render should return the response, right? So we are still getting this error of response, return type of response. Okay, so maybe we need to, or surely we need to, we are in the article.php view controller, because the URL is article 4 view. So we are including the newly created wrapper twig renderer for ourselves, this one, this dot twig viewer render, but we are not returning it. It should return the response. So hopefully this will fix the error. Yes, it has. So we are now able to see article 4 view. It means the fourth number article is being viewed, and if I change it to 5, for example, so if there is an article 5, it should be this one. Now we have added these two links, edit this article and delete this article. So your first instinct in any MVC like or MVC framework should be any URL to the server, any request to the server should go to a controller's action. So if I, for example, click on edit this article it has a URL, I have given it a URL of article 5/edit. So this should be the edit, should be the controller action which we need to create. So if I right now click on it, it says does not exist. So what we need to do is we need to create this edit controller action. So I will go to the relevant controller, which is the article, and here I need to create a new function, which is our method. It should be function, the name of it should be edit, and it will be passed an ID. Okay, so the request from that link or server request should come here. So what do you think this edit link should do?
Update the records.
It should update that. So where the update should actually happen?
In the model.
In the model. So it should call some method in the model, this dot model, whatever it is, and then we should have an update maybe, and it will pass this ID. So let us create that update method in the model also. So we'll go to the relevant models. This is article.model here, but we are doing it through base model, which is being extended by all other models. Right now we haven't any specific need to extend any of the base models functionality, but we will for now keep on adding functionality to the base model so that it can be easily extended in future for any other entity types as well. So we will straight away go to the base model, and here we will create a function update, and it will have an ID, and then here we will do all the stuff related to update. Okay, for example, we now should do it in steps. The functions we needed, we have created them, and now we'll concentrate on the steps we need to take in both the articles action as well as the models update methods. So in article, for example, in the controllers article, we are directly calling the update method, but it should not be like this. What should we do? Anybody? For example, if I click on some article, edit this article, and the article is 5/edit. Let me zoom it. So this is the URL 5/edit. So if this 5 exists in the database, well and good, but if it doesn't exist, what should it throw? For example, I can directly go to some URL like this 5676 this. So if this ID doesn't exist, we should have some mechanism for that. So we should first check in the edit statement whether the ID which is being edited exists or not, right? So this should be the norm. That's what we are going to do now. So first we are inside the article.php in controllers. And here we need to have we need to first check whether this ID exists or not. Okay, for example, if it is 5, so does this article 5 exist or not? So how can we do that? If you remember, we had created a method which was find by ID. Do you remember? And it was in the base model. So this is the find by ID method, this one, get by ID, sorry. So it is passed the ID and it selects everything from the table where the ID is ID, and it returns the record. So if it returns the record, we can add some functionality here. If it is true, it should return it, otherwise it should return false, right? So we can say if $record is something which is true, so return record, else return false, right? So if this exists, we will return the record, otherwise we will return false. Okay, so we can call this method from the controller article here in the edit. So if we can call the method, this one, first to check if this exists or not. So this dot model slash find by get by ID, right? And we'll pass the ID. Okay, so if we'll call it something whatever, or article or anything. Okay, so if article is true, what does this mean? This exists. So we will call this right. We should only update it if it exists, otherwise else. Here we can throw new page not found or route not found. For now, let it be route. You can have a lot of exceptions created, and here we will pass something. This article does not exist. Is this clear? Okay, let us try this now. So if we add something which doesn't exist, hopefully this article does not exist, so it is working fine, right? But if it exists, so for that we are now going to do some other stuff, right? Okay, so if it exists, it means if the article, if you run this method get by ID and it returns an article, so if this exists, it means the record is there in the database. So we will do the we will call this update method in the model, and the rest we will go to the base model's update method which we just created, this one. And here what we should do, we will update the record, right? Okay, so we have the controllers edit link now, but you should not go directly to a particular record. What should you do? I mean, if the article title is being changed or description is being changed, what should we do?
Update the record of database.
Yeah, but from where we can change it?
So we have to create a twig file for that.
Very
and
good.
In that we will show the record.
Exactly.
And after that we will update the record.
Exactly. So for example, this is the new article page, or we will have a new page here which is update article. New file, we'll call it update.html.twig, right? And here, because it will also have the form, so let us quickly copy the new article stuff here, and we will call it, what should be the action? Form action, and it should be update. You can even use the edit link. Right, but here the ID should be dynamic, right? So how can we get that? And should be update article. This is title, this is description, and here let us have it coded for now, but it should be something like this, or maybe article ID. We will fix it right now in a while. Okay, so more or less this should be.
We will show sir the in the input tags through values the title and description existing value in the database.
Yeah, so here this is update.html.twig, right? And the path, once the form is submitted, it should go to article ID and edit, right?
Yes, sir.
So in the controller we need to create a new controller action which should be including this form actually.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can have it in a lot of ways, but let us keep it simple. If I go to where it is, the article controller, we should have a new method. Public function update. Remember, this is just a URL for the URL. Okay, or let us call it this one update and this one edit. It will make more sense. Okay, so it also will have an ID. Once this is accessed, what it should do, it should basically it should show the form. And again, you can see if we should copy these two lines, if the article exists, then it should include the article, right? So how can it do it? Now we have access to the twig renderer.
Yes, sir. It was like this.
This dot twig render,
Viewer.
twig viewer,
Yes, sir. And
then render, and it will be passed. What's that?
article.
It's update.html.twig. Update.html.twig, and it's inside the
Article folder.
article slash this, and it should be also passed two things. What?
Description.
We can pass it article, and the article should be, because we are already fetching it here,
Yes, sir.
so we can pass that article here, or article, right? So if article is true, we should do it. Otherwise, again we can throw some exception, and the exception can also be the same. Right? So we are now passing the article whichever has been fetched by us here, get by id, right? Here in the newly created update.html.page, here what should be the value of it? Value equals should be article dot title, and this one should be article dot description, and update dot article, right? One change we need to make in the all single article.php. Here we need to change the path to update, or it is fine. Okay, so if I go to article 5 view, this is the edit this article, right? Article 5 dash edit, and then must be a type response null return. Okay, we are not, again we should make it a habit, and the habit should be returning it rather than just return. Is it okay? So you can see we have all those values in the description.
Yes, sir.
Edit 5, and if I change it to edit 6, now it says route not found because 6th article is not there, or maybe we need a slash. So this is the 6th one. Now if I add some extra stuff to this and submit, update the article, where should it go?
It will go to the update.
It will go to the update method. So in the once this is submitted, it will arrive here to the update method, and then it will be passed to the model,
Yes.
right? And there we are calling its update method as well, right? But before this, do you think we need to have something here for error checking also? For example, somebody comes to the update, for example, somebody has come here and he has changed the values and left them empty
Yes.
and submit the article. So
Server-side validation.
so we need to have validation here, but that validation will be done for us by model, not controller. And if controller will just check if there are errors in the model, it means, so we will do that in the update method of the model. But for now, let us go to the model's update method. This is base model, so here we are going to update the article. So for now, let us suppose everything is fine. At the top of it, we will do you remember the validate method we created yesterday? This is the validate. This is the validate method. What it does is, it is passed the data and it is being looped through, and then if any of the values is empty, it adds to the array. Okay, so we can do that here as well. One more thing, if in the we are in the controls article, we are updating this, but we should be passing this data also. So here we will create a an empty array which is data, right? And it should have title, from where should this title be populated?
From the form side.
Yes, from the form. So we have request available in this article. Do you agree? Because in the controller's parent base controller we have added the request. If you go to the controller's base controller, so it has the request property, right? So in this controller so it will be this dot request, remember the post value, post, and then its title. So it's array, so title, and the description should also be so description, because or this dot request dot post, and this is description, right? So the title is this and description is this. So we should be passing this data because we are updating it based on the ID, but this data is also important. The new values will be these, title and description. So we should pass the data as well, that like this. Do you agree? Now the editor is saying that there is no second parameter in the function, so we do need to have in the base model here in the update method we have to have a second parameter which is data, right? And by default it should be, and it is an array basically, so we can type in like this. Okay, so here how does the update method work, update SQL work in PDO or any SQL language? So it's something like this. I will comment it out. Update name of the table. So for example, this article set title equals some value and description is equal to some value, whatever it is. Where, and if you don't issue the where in the update statement, what happens?
It will update all the data.
Exactly. So that is also very important. So where ID equals ID, whatever the ID is, right? So now we need to have it in the PDO language. So update article set title equals question mark, right? Description equals question mark, where ID equals question mark. Do you agree? So now we need to create, just like in the insert, we need to create this query from whatever values we have here, right? And it should be dynamic. Right now there are two values data in the data array, title and description, but and ID is separately being passed. So we need to create something like this from the. So how can we do this? Okay, again we will have to run the, and maybe let us do that first. So the query is, let us suppose this is the query. Okay, let us hard code it for now. Then how to get the PDO object? PDO equals this dot database dot get connection, right? Then PDO prepare, and we'll pass the query to it. After the query we need to bind values, right? So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, right? So how can we do it? This is going to be statement, right?
Yes.
So statement bind value. So this is 1, this is 2. So 1 is data title, and the data type is PDO colon param underscore string. Always write something like this before you are running any loops, so that you can understand how should you do it. The second one, the second question mark is this. It should also be this description, and the param should be this. The third one is ID. So statement bind this, and it is going to be, it is just the ID equals, and this will be int, and this will be 3. But we will do it at the last, because first we need to loop through this one surely will be the last one always.
Yes,
So we can do it independently, but we have to loop through everything like this. But before getting the loop, we need to create this dynamically also. Whatever is the content of the data array, it should have an equal to sign and then question mark sign, description, and then equal to and question mark sign. So for this, what we can do is, we will first get the columns. So how can we get columns? Array underscore keys data, array underscore keys data. So it will have title and description. So, and it will return, this is an array, so columns underscore array, right? Then we need to change each. Now the array has title and just the description, but we need to change it to equals question mark and equals question mark. So how can we do it? We can do it via array underscore walk. Okay, so array underscore walk is a shortcut method. What it will do is, it will take an array, and then the callback function, and the callback function is passed via reference, whatever it is, so that it changes the value. Okay, the original value is value equals, this is the original value. For example, original value is title, so it will change it to $value dot equal to question mark, like this, right? And we will assign it to columns underscore array. Okay, so each time the value should be concatenated with equal to and question mark. So the new array should be this, right? And this array now will have these values. Title equals this as one key, and description equals this as. And if there are more than one more columns in the data array, maybe 10 or 20, so all of them will be populated with these values like this. Now I need to have them in the string format like this. What should I do? Separated by the comma. Implode. So now we will assign it, the new columns is equal to implode, and we should separate it by comma and then the name of this array. Okay, Why is it so? Okay, sorry, maybe it doesn't need this. Okay, so array underscore walk, because it is changing the value itself,
Yes, sir.
so we don't need to return anything. We won't return anything. Okay, so now the columns will have all the values like this in the form of a string,
Yes.
right? So the query should be, I will just cut it and here paste it. So update article, but article again we need to have some dynamic system, and if you remember how are we getting it?
Yes, sir.
Get table name.
Table name, yes, sir.
So it should be this dot table name, get table name. So here there is a query. Okay, update article. So instead of article it should be $, this get table name. And why is it not okay, let us have double quotes. Okay, so this will return the name of the table, right? Then set title equals this. So we have calculated this now, and it is inside the columns array. So we'll change it to $ columns, where id equals this. We'll leave it as this, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's how the query should be. And then this is where, and generally in programming, if you have so many steps like this, you should realize that I need to run some loop.
Yes, sir.
And again we did it in the we did it in insert as well. So here first we need to create the match for it. If you remember, how did we do it? So the match function, because this should also be dynamic. Okay, so inside the for each we will have the match method as well. So for each should be on the data array. So for each data as $value we should run it through the match. So it should be value and assign it a value equals this get type, right? Get type of the value. And this is very tricky. The match it seems to be a normal function, but you have to use a semicolon at the end. There we go. Okay, so the match, whatever is the type of the, for example, title or description. Okay, so if the type is it will match the type with any of the values we give it. So for example, integer, if the type is integer, what it should return? video param underscore int. If the type is the type is boolean, is it small or boolean? So it should be param underscore bool. And there is another one, null. Null is capital, right? It should be video underscore param underscore null, and the default should be string. Default is without quotes, right? This video and this param underscore string. So why are we doing it this way? So that if there are more unspecified number of elements in the data, it will automatically calculate these values for it, right? So we should be inside the loop, and here I will just move this line of code inside the loop. This value should be calculated dynamically as well. So I, and each time the I should be populated, incremented. And outside the loop we should initialize I is equal to 1, so that we have this value I is equal to, and this starts with 1, that's why we are using 1. So first time bind value will have, and this is also dynamic, it should be value. So first time it should be title in our case, then description, and these are the automatic, these will be populated like 1 or 2 if there are 10 elements, so each time it will have its own index. Now the last one, as I said, should be kind of hard coded, because it is going to be ID. So the last element should be what should I give it here? This is your question. I started with 1, so if there are 10 elements in the data array, it will be 10. For this, it should be, once it is plus plus, it means it will be 11. So it should be $ID, and it should be int. And ID is what passed to the update method. So for
the param is str, so the type is passing.
Oh, thank you. So it should be
Change the value to types also. Major function return value. Change this to type and then put it here.
okay. So we should have basically this, right? So this is type, and this should be $type, right?
Yes.
And this should be the value, actual value.
Yes.
So thank you. So now the last one is kind of hard coded, but at least it is taking this value from the last iteration plus 1. So whatever it is, for example, if the number of elements in the data array are 10, this should be 11.
Yes.
This, and that's it. So hopefully this will update the record, and once the record is updated, how can we let it know? So statement execute, right? And if it is updated, this we should return to the calling action of the controller. Okay, so if it is true or false, it will be automatic that way. Okay, here I will remove this for now. First things first, if there are errors in, for example, both the title and description are empty, so what should we do? Shabas, we already have a validate method here.
We have to call the validate function.
Yeah, so initially this dot, we should initially, once we arrive the update method, we should call the validate method and pass it the data, right?
Yes, sir.
This dot validate data, and then if you remember, probably we can add return false here also. The validate return false, validate R, so data is key empty, or maybe let us wait for it. Okay, so here this dot validate data, it means it will check if the values are empty or not. So for example, if they are, how can we know it is empty? Yeah, so if not empty, what we have? A property of errors, if you remember, this is errors. So if not empty, what does this mean? If not empty errors,
Maybe go inside the error array.
exactly. So if not empty, $, this dot errors. If this is not empty, means there are errors in the errors array. So what you can do? Return false. So if there are no errors, it will come down to this value, right? So these three lines are enough. This dot validate data will check if there are errors. If there are errors, it will populate the errors array, so it will return the value. So in the controllers action where we are calling this dot update, if article, this dot model update this ID and data. So if it is updated, it should return what? True. We call it status. If article status is equal this dot model this. So if, for example, it has been updated, so what should we do? If it is true, if status is true, what should we do? We should return
single article HTML
yeah,
and then show the relevant updated article.
yeah. So if we can redirect it to anything. For now, let us just use the header method, location, and it should be article slash ID slash view. If status means if it has been updated, so redirect it to the article, and we already have the ID, right? But if it is not true, what should it do? If not status, so it means there are errors in the error array.
Yes.
So we should recall the update this one, return this twig article update, but with the article also as well as the errors, so that we can see those.
Yes.
So if not, so else is where we will run this. Else this, but we should pass another value also in the array, which is errors. Okay, errors, but what should be the value of it? This dot model dot get errors. We have a method for that, so it will return the errors array.
Yes.
So it will call the update.html.twig, but with these errors in it. Is this clear?
Yes.
So let us try how it is now working. We will create a method or class for the header also, redirects also, okay, at the end of the lecture. So I'm in article 6, maybe editing, we will add editing with it, editing and update article. So it goes to article slash edit, the in dispatcher line 56. Okay, where are we going to? Article. There is problem in the article action here, so we forgot to add this too. It should be article dot id. Do we have?
Yes, sir, change the edit to view also, sir.
And it should be slash here. No, this is editing of the article. Let me just try again. So editing Date 6 edit. It's edit. And what are we doing in the edit? It should be update. It should go to update, not edit. Because if you go to the controller, this is the edit includes the edit again, the update again. This is a bit confusing, but you will get used to it. And edit goes to update. The action should be update where it should do all this. So hopefully editing, and update article. It's okay, so it's now going to article 6/6. Okay. What could be the problem? Anybody? Because the redirect is, it should be /article, not article. Probably it has updated it. I will go back to the 6 article 6/view. Now if I edit it, let me do it again, editing. So there are two double edits, right? Update article, and now you can see it's editing, and it has been redirected to article /6/view. So this is working, right? And if I edit it again and leave these two empty for some reasons, so now you can see there are errors. So the update functionality is working fine. So right now we have been able to achieve fully functional edit of the article. Now if you go to any of the article view, you can see I already have a delete link also. So for example, I need to delete this article. So delete this article, and we go to article 6-delete. If I zoom it for you, this, but it says this route does not exist. So what your instinct from now on should be, you need to create this
delete
method in the controller. So that's what we are going to do now. So because delete will be there inside any tables operation, so we should have it in the base controller again, or maybe for now just the article. So public function delete ID. Okay, do you think it should directly delete the article once we access that route, or something else should happen?
Curly braces at the end of edit function.
So it will first confirm.
Exactly.
So when curly braces,
Okay, so once we click on the delete method, it should not immediately delete it. It should first go to the form, and then there should be delete, right? So this first delete should be, this method should show us the form actually. Do you really want to delete this? or cancel or something like that, whatever, right? So what should it do? It should first include, and again we should be getting this. For example, if there is no id for a delete, like this, article 6 delete, maybe if there is something like article dash something else delete, so it should not, it should throw some route not found, right?
Yes, sir.
But let us first include the form, and we will create that twig file first. Let us quickly copy the update code. I will create a new one, and it should be delete.html.twig. Okay, what should be we should have, it should be, do you really want to delete this article? Then either yes or no, right? Two buttons. And we should have a button. Yes, and maybe the no is yes, you should submit the form, to which place here we should have another route for remove or anything like this, so we will call it remove. Okay, and the article slash whatever is the id and remove. Otherwise we will have a button which is, we should be a cancel. So can we have url in the button?
Yes, sir.
Button. How?
No, sir. It should be in anchor text.
Okay, so the anchor tag can be
Can we have
ahref equals to, sorry, what it should be, article slash whatever is the article id and slash view, right? And should be cancelled like this. The yes should submit the form to this, right? And the delete should the no should sorry, the cancel should move to article slash id slash view, whatever it is. Okay, now once the route is accessed in the controller, the delete route, here we need to run this. So return this at this article slash delete .html.twig, and it should be past the article tag. But how to get this one? So it's a good one. By the way, we should have a separate function here so that we can easily get it. So if article is true, otherwise we will throw the exception, right?
Yes.
So we can say if not article. What does this mean? That this article doesn't exist. If not article, then we can throw exception, this one, If not article, throw new route exception. Otherwise, we will return the article delete, and it should be passed this article as well, right? And there, once it is passed to the this one, here we will have it available here. That's why article.id, right? So let us try it now. If I refresh the page, do you think it should be available? If I zoom the URL for you, this is a very high number, so probably it will throw route not found exception. Route not found exception. But if something is available, for example 4/delete, so now we have a button. By the way, where is no cancel? Okay, cancel is inside the button also. Yes, okay, this is bottom. Is this okay now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is yes and this is cancel. So if I click on yes, it should go to which route now? Because in the action we have given it a remove route, right?
Yes, sir.
This is the remove route. It should go to remove. Otherwise, if I click on cancel, so where should it go to?
View.
The view of this article. So it is now the view. If I click on delete, it should go to this. Otherwise,
Yes, sir.
if you cancel, so it should go to this. So now we have to create the route which is /remove, and /remove will basically do the real deletion, but not itself, by
Through delete method.
exactly of the model.
Yes, sir.
So in the controller here article, I will create a new route, quickly just copying new method. Actually it should be remove, right? It should also be same the start. So if this is what we all the time need, getting an article by ID, for example, and then so we can make it into a method also, right? Rather, let us do it first. Public function, and this is, by the way, inside the controller. Okay, get article, and it is passed an ID, and we'll paste that code here. Article is equal to this ID, whatever it is, and if not article, it should throw. Otherwise, return article. Now wherever we need to repeat these lines, we can just call this dot get article
Yes, sir.
ID. So rather than this code, what we can do, this dot get article, and we'll pass it the ID. That's it. Got it? Now this just one line is enough for any of this code.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, we can use it here, the deletion, right? But you can do it yourself. Okay, so now this dot get article ID means if we have it, we will assign it to an article like this, and then
Yes, sir.
remove it. Otherwise, this article will be false. I mean, if this doesn't exist, so it will throw exception. Okay, so remove will actually call what? A delete method in this dot delete, sorry, this dot model / delete. This should be a method, right? And what should it delete? This article. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this article, or even you can just, because deletion needs just ID, so you can just pass the ID, this ID. Okay,
Yes.
so this is a model delete ID, and I will go to the base model now, so that this method exists in all the child classes also. So here at the bottom of the page, maybe somewhere here, public function delete, and it will be pass an ID. Okay, So the query should be delete from article, but it should be dynamic. Dollar sign this, get table name, delete from where, id is equal to colon id. Colon id is fine, right?
Call the function get table name small parents.
Thank you. Okay, the next is we should get the PD object, which is this dot get database
And
get connection, and here $sign PDO prepare $sign query. This is going to be a statement. If we execute prepare query, this is going to be statement, sorry, and then bind value, it should be, this one should be comma id, and it is PDO param int. This clear? And then return what? Statement execute, because it will either return statement, okay, right? Now it returns this value to the calling action in the this. Where is remove this? Okay, so this article, sorry, this should return something, okay? So if status or anything like this, so we can then if delete has happened, okay? So $sign status, so we should redirect to where, maybe article slash all, right? So it will go show us all articles. So if it has been deleted, the one which has been deleted won't be there, right? So that's what it requires now. So let us try. If you go to all the articles, these are all the articles, right? What if we just change them into the links? So let me go to the all article. This is all. So here li class is this, a is this. So inside this we will have a, and then this is the closing a, right? And then it is href equals, just imagine how much distance you have traveled, mashallah, in this course. In your first class you were just creating these links, and now you are even making dynamic links with the delete option. So here the href will be what? This, and should be slash article, sorry, not this, slash article slash, this will be id, and slash view, and here it will be record.id, maybe record.id, right? Record.id. By the way, we should have all these as records in from the controller, so that all the values are dynamic, but it's good that we have record already in this one. So if I refresh the page, hopefully it will be some link, and if I click on it, this is new article, right? Now if I delete it, it should prompt me for this, and if I click on yes, hopefully if things are fine. So that has gone. Maybe the first two I want to delete just to check if things are working fine. So if I click on this and then delete, and if I click on yes, and now just one remains, right?
Yes.
And so all the three things are working fine,
Yes.
which is called CRUD normally. Create, read, update, delete, these four things are working fine. This is all the articles you're reading. If you click on one and edit it, and just use edit it in front of it, and if I go to the view now, so this is what, and if I delete it, it will be deleting it. So this is now part of the framework. We can easily add other stuff to it as well, but let us revise what we did actually. So we have created respective twig files in the article folder. All shows all the articles. Delete is for delete. New, but delete is for delete, but it shows a form actually with the yes and cancel buttons. Then the new article, it shows us a form with the errors also getting displayed, and single article is for showing one article, and here we have edit and delete links also. Maybe if we just add one more link here, and should be all articles, so it will be href equals, what should be the path? Article / all. So if I view a single one, now this is single, so here we have all articles also, and it shows us all the articles. Let us make it all articles. Okay, then we have update dot, so it edits a single article. By the way, the form here and in the insert are the same, so you can create another twig file and include it from there. That's also one of the ways so that you can control it, but this is fine as well, no problem with it. So we have done all the basics for the article content article page. Okay, one thing we can do is, if you go to the article controller, so we have all these actions, all view, update, edit, delete and remove, right?
Yes.
So probably all the tables should have these.
Yes, sir.
Now if I go to PHP myadmin, so what it is, we go to DB, so I have created a table already, student, right? Student has ID, name, father name, email and interest. So this is one of the improvements I want to bring in this application, in this framework. So ID, name, it has 5 extra or 4 extra columns, right? So if I create a new article, new controller which is student, right? So I will have to create all these pages myself again,
Yes, sir.
all these actions.
Yes.
This is redundant work. Okay, so what we can do, any suggestions?
We have to create one main controller and we can extend that.
Exactly, well done. Also, so in the base controller, if you remember, we already have a lot of stuff, we won't touch it, but we will create another one in the framework. We will create another file, I will call it database, or maybe what we should call it,
database interaction interface.
maybe database tables controller, or anything you can call it. Okay, so we will call it database, or maybe entity controller is, because these tables can be called entities. So entity controller dot php, right? Entity controller dot php, and this will be namespace framework, and the name of this class should be entity controller, right? Okay, so the name is entity controller. What should it stand? So that all the functionality of the base controller should be there. This is the base controller, so it should extends base controller, right?
Use the base controllers.
And here we should have, because both are in the same namespace, so that is not needed. Okay, now we should cut all those actions from that article controller into this, but there is a better practice also, so that we don't miss any of the what that is. Remember the contract system in PHP or any programming language. What's it called? Contract. Your class should have these methods, for example, interface. So what we can do is we can quickly create an interface also. New file, we'll call it entity controller interface.php, right? Entity controller interface.php, and it should be namespace as framework, and interface entity controller interface, right? Is this okay?
Yes, sir.
What should be here? Just the
name of
the names of the functions,
Definition of the methods.
right? So what we can do is from the article.php here we have a new process. Do you need process also? We should. Okay, we will deal with the process a bit later, but new is needed. New, all, and view and update. So let us copy these. Public function all, we'll go to public function all. It should return what? Response, right? Something like this. Then a new. I think better we should copy all these from here. View, go to this, and it should also return what? Response. Then new doesn't have any it is just then update, and this is update, and then delete, remove, one was edit also, if you remember, so let us add that also.
Yes, sir.
What else? All, view, new, update, edit, delete, remove. This is for now. This you get the idea why we need interfaces, for example. So in our entity controller, if I use implements what entity controller so there will be an error now. Why? Because we need all those functions
Yes, sir. We have to
here. So let us quickly copy those. from the article.php or maybe cut. So delete, remove, get article, these ones. Update 1, 2, 3, 4, cut, and move it to the entity controller.php here. So how many of them are here now? Okay, we are actually not returning anything here, so we should be returning. Okay, so delete, remove, edit, update, so 4 more we need. New, all, and view. Let me do these two first. We'll go to entity controller. This, right? And then all.
This is new.
This is new. Where is new? This one. Okay, so now these errors show that you are not using the return type response. So let me just add this response, and then new doesn't return response, right? It's okay. This one returns a response. This should be returning a response. Then this one. Okay, let us quickly go back to the entity interface. All, is everything returning a response? Edit, delete, response. Yes.
So you bring all the use statement from the article controller.
Yeah, that will help. So we should have them here as well in the framework. The response is not here, so because we are returning response from here, we should specify it here. Use framework slash http slash response. And similarly, in the entity controller, we should have those use statements, these ones. Maybe we need article also, so it should be article model, right? Now it should also return, the all should also return response. This should also return response, and this should also return response. This should also return response. This should also return response. Okay, now there is this line entity controller, so we should have these properties also from this class, because we are defining these here, right? The model is being defined here, so I will just copy it from this one into the entity controller. Okay, more or less we have all this. What is this thing? No problem. maybe the remove doesn't return anything at the moment, so we can just remove the, if I go to the interface, remove should not return response at the moment, because we are right now redirecting it. We'll create a function, then come back to this for the redirect, so this is fine for now. Okay, now we need the get article method as well,
Yes, sir.
but since this is for any, we should change it to some generic get entity or something like this, but right now we will leave it as it is, and I will copy that method also from the article, so it is get article method, and move it to entity controller, right? It should be outside the function, or let us change it to get record here, get record, right?
Yes.
So it will be get record here, and anywhere it is being used, it should be then get record. Do you agree?
Yes.
Similarly, for example, this, it should be now record here, right?
Yes, sir.
And we can say the record does not exist,
Yes.
something like this, so that it becomes generic
Yes, sir. For all.
for all. But we should be copying one more method also, probably, which is still left. It is process, this process. Okay, so process should also be copied, and process should also be part of the entity controller interface, but for now let us keep it like this, maybe at the bottom of the this. So what process does is, process has title and description. Do you agree that not every table should have title and description?
Yes.
Hmm? So how can we make it dynamic? Hmm? Yes, but what should we do actually with this data table, so what we can do is, we have copied almost everything from the article.php page, which is the controller for article. So if I, hopefully we are not missing anything, new process, all, view, all of these have been copied, so let me delete them from this. Even the new has been copied, and in the constructor we are setting the model, so even this constructor should go to the entity controller. We'll cut it from here, and you should go to the entity controller. At the top we should have this, now just to check if everything is working fine. How can we check it now? We will go stepwise, okay, so that you don't get confused. This is the entity controller now, right? This is the article.php where we have done everything. I will just remove this. Now what should it extend?
It should extend the entity controller.
Why not the base controller? Because entity controller itself extends the
Yes, sir.
base controller, so it has now two parents, the article.
Yes, sir.
So we will just use entity controller, that's it, and it has added that too. Now if things are fine, let me just check. Let me refresh. Excellent, it is working fine. If I click on edit an article, this and update, so it is getting it is working fine. Do you agree now?
Yes, sir.
So but we can make it more generalized as well. Let me go to the entity controller now. This is entity controller. So if we have some properties like this, for example protected article, if I am using student for this entity controller in the student table, what I need to do is, this should not be article model. What it should be? It should be, for example, entity model. What? Entity model, right? So now this is a generic name
Yes, sir,
for all this, and then it should be entity model. Entity model. Similarly, if there is any other article, this is article, so we should have something like student slash new student.html.twig,
yes, sir.
some automatic names, right? So we will do it in a while. Similarly, we should have this entity with this ID does not exist, and then in the update, this is again going to be dynamic.
Yes, sir.
The article should be dynamic. It should be record. This should be record. Any instance of the article should go to the it should be record, or if there are more than one, then it should be records, right?
Yes, sir.
And then this article does not, this record does not exist. Similarly, this should be record. This should be record. This should be record. This should be record. This should be record, and this should be record. This should be, I think we had a lot of record variables, article variables. Again, we are going to make this dynamic, but for now leave it like this. Okay, one thing we need to do is entity model. We are using a protected property of entity model. So we had created an article model, if you remember, like this: app models entity article. Okay, so if I go to article in the models folder, this is the article. So article is just a base which extends the base model. So what we can do is, we can quickly create a new entity.php, which will be just like an article, simple, a class like this, which extends what? The base model. We have already done a lot of stuff in the base model, so we are not going to touch that, but at least we will just paste it here. So it should be class entity extends what? Base model. So in the controller, entity controller, it should not be entity model and entity model. So we will use it as entity model, and probably that is not needed, but we can do it. So entity, we are using the models entity as entity model, right?
Yes.
So we are assigning it, so that is also a change which we have made. Now do you think we should have the table, because it is extending the model now is extending the base model, the entity, so we should have the get table available to us, right?
Yes, sir.
So what should be the article here? How can I make it dynamic? Get table, but the first word should be capital. So how can string to UC first? Good, UC first. So how can we do it? Let us quickly do it here. But if
create a variable in the constructor function and we can use it.
Yeah, here, so we already have that probably, but maybe we can create it. Protected $sign folder name, right? String. So the folder name should be in the constructor. We can use this dot folder name equals this dot model slash
Git table name.
git table name. That's it. But the folder name should be what?
Yes, sir.
UC first. Good. It was a good suggestion. Thank you, Afa. Okay. Now we should also have new and this as
Yes, sir.
a name. So we can file part, or we can call it file part or anything like this. Okay, wherever we want to use it. So it should be protected string file part, right?
Yes, sir.
So the file part also should be something like this. This is dot file part equals what? Should be string to lower, right?
Yes, sir.
This dot get nice. So now we have these two variables available, folder name and file part, right? So what we can do is we can change it to this should be what? $sign this dot folder name, right?
Yes, sir.
Let me quickly copy it too. And in the new article.php here, just this should be replaced, right?
Yes, sir.
Should be this dot
Yes, sir.
file part, right?
Yes.
We have to do this for all these. So article should be replaced with this and all dot. So this is generic. And maybe if we just name these generic names, we may not need these file parts. But for now we will just keep them as this. This is article and this should be file part. Okay, this is folder name and this is update like this. So we don't need the part here.
Sir, change these two records.
Okay, record. Here is get record. Okay, this should also be record. Anything missing? Okay, here we have and should be file part. Errors. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So we have made it pretty dynamic. Even here the location
Yes, sir.
should be what?
File name.
Folder name. No, sorry, file part. This should be file part. And we should have a redirect method for it, okay? But and then do we have any other redirects? Yes, this one, sorry, this should be file part. I think we are good to go to test some other stuff. Okay, now we have, if you notice, why is this if you notice, we are hard coding the data variable with title and description, because we know the table name should be these, columns should be these, right? Title and description. But what we should do is we should, in each of the child controller classes, so for example this is entity sorry, where it is, article.php. Here we should have a protected variable array, and we will call it columns, and it should have all the columns of the table. So for example, in articles case it is title and description. These are the column names of the table. And we should also have the same variable so that we don't end up getting some errors in the base controller, entity controller here. So we should have columns here also, protected array assign columns, and we should initialize it with an array. So all instances of these hard coded values, because we are in the entity controller parent class which extends the base controller, so we should not have columns of article inside it. Title and description are article columns, so we should replace this data column wherever we have used it with the newly created column. So we can access it now as this dot columns, and we can even create a method to access it. So maybe at the top of the page I already have a method here, get child columns, or even get columns is the right name. So here we will use this dot columns and we will return it. So wherever we need these columns, we will use this method get columns. So here in the to populate this data array, what we can do is we will get the for each this dot get columns, and this should return an array, right, as value. Now we will mimic the same thing here, and we will let the data go empty because we don't need it now. We will populate it with, so data is going to be an empty array, but for each these are get columns as value. Here we will use data $value equals this dot request, and then the post should have exactly the same value as well. So that's how we will populate the data array now dynamically from the get columns method, which actually accesses the columns property, and we have defined it inside the child entity class article. So if there are 10 columns defined here, it will get the 10 columns from here into that array. So again, if I go to controller, I will copy this code and paste it wherever we need those data variables to be populated. So here again in the process one, this is for insert, we will place it here as well. Column has values, so this will populate the post values with the data value, and then we will pass it to the insert method. So if I open it in the browser now, so you can see there is a problem in our code right now. It states that db.entity does not exist. Why? Because if you go to the code and to the base model, so here we are injecting we are basically not here but the entity controller. So here we are injecting the apps models entity as entity model, and the code we have written basically gets the table name from the name of the class. So this is the model which we have injected, so it should be in that it is expecting the table to be entity, and this doesn't exist, but we are going to extend this model, and we are doing that for any of our future models as well. So this is the entity class, it extends the base model, and the article model extends this entity. So in the controller for articles, this one, we need to use this articles on model rather than using the base entity. That's why it is searching for the entity table. So what we can do is we can quickly create a constructor in the article controller, and we will have to do it for all the tables. So here we will inject the articles, and let us use it first. App models article, we are already using it, it's article model. So article model article, or we can even call it model, just like the parent. So here we will call the parent constructor and pass it the model. So now in a way we have injected the articles on model into the model we are using in the parent. Now it will take, if I refresh the page, hopefully we are able to see the page again. So these are going to be the steps in any new controller for entities. What we will do is we will create a controller, it should extend the entity controller, and inside the construct method it should be pass its relevant model. So for example, these are the models folder. So for student, if we create a new student.php, it should be passed to it as a dependency, and it is then passed to the parent construct, where if you go to the base model, this one, or the base controller, so here it will be assigned to this model variable, kind of overriding we are this to achieve our goal. So now the page is working fine, and in a way it is dynamic as well. Okay, so previously it was working fine, but now the values, if I did any of them, are empty. This is because we have changed the variables from articles to records mostly. So let us quickly fix those. If you go to the templates, the article, and then we can make one adjustment to these file names also, and it can be easier to find and duplicate. So for example, this is new, so we'll change it to new. We'll change the single article to just single, and update is fine. So the names of the files inside the controllers folder will be all, delete, new, single, and update. These are easily manageable. So let us change the names accordingly in the entity controller as well. Maybe probably we won't need one of the variables we have created, the folder part and file part. So mostly we won't be needing the file part then, but still let us change these names. So for new it should be just new .html.twig. All is fine. File part, so single .html.twig. Update.html.twig. Delete.html.twig. So again, this is new file part, so it should be new.html.twig. Also, let us check if we have any other missing variables, because we had to change it from article to record, so maybe we are still missing something. Yes, here it is article still, so let us make it record too. Okay, now we should move inside the files where we have changed the twig files, where we have changed these variables. So articles should become, this is the record is fine, then all is fine, then the delete one, it's article ID, it should be record ID, should be record. The new should be, I think this is fine, single. Single should be record.id. Update.php, here we are having problem, so it should be record.title. It also should be record.description, and this should be record.id. I think these changes were important to make after converting variables from article to record. So let us refresh the page now. This is the page 5 article ID. Now we are having the values. I will just check it and update. Okay, so you can see we are on the view page, but still some variables are not being printed out, so maybe we need to change it on the view page as well. If I go to view, single dot this, so this is going to be a record, not article. So I refresh the page. Now I am able to see the single article as well. Edit, update, this is updated, delete, article. Okay, so the redirect for update after the deletion is not working. It's article dash all, so maybe we need to change that as well. I go to update, this record article update. So if update happens, in the entity controller update, we should be redirecting to let me just check it again, maybe 6. So if I click on yes, this will submit the form. Okay, this is coming from the remove, probably this one. Yes, this is this dot folder name. It should be this dot file part, because file part is the smaller one. Now if I use some other one, maybe 8, click on yes, now it's working fine. It's going to article/all. These are just small bugs in the application because of the changes we have made, so we are just setting these things up. Okay, for example, if I've got to delete this one now and delete this object, so it's working fine. So go to this, all articles, should have a link for the new one as well. So article/new is the new link. If I add test2, so it's working fine as well, and we should have a link on the maybe in the single article or in the all articles below the loop. We can have add new article link. Should be article/new. If I go to all now, so we have add new article as well, and we are able to reach that. So this is working fine. Now let us test all of this, because the purpose of this application is not just adding content into the article. We need to have all of the functioning pages for other tables in the database also. So for example, if I open the PHP myadmin, so we have in the database a student table which has 2 records for now. So let us test this if all of this works fine for student table as well. So what we will do is 2 things. The way this, maybe there are better ways of doing all this, but still for this brief application we can be able to so 2 things we will do: duplicate this article model and rename it to student.php, and we'll change the name accordingly. Student extends entity, right? And the base, the namespace is app model. So we have created a model student. Similarly, we will create in the controllers, we will copy the articles. This is article just with a constructor and that columns. So we'll copy this and paste it inside the controller, and we will call it student.php. So this is now going to be the controller for student, and it will include its relevant model. So it's student, and we will make it student model. You can call it anything. So here we will call it student model. That's it. These were the changes to make, and the name of the class should of course be student. So student extends entity controller, and the model is being injected to it, and then here we need to have all the column names. So you can write some scripts to automatically get these column names from the tables, but for now we will hard code them here. So it's name, father name, email, and interests. Name, father name, email, and interests. It should be name, father name, email, and interests. So by the way, we are not including the ID because we are generalizing it across all the platforms, so that all of the tables will have the ID column as ID. So that is not needed here. Okay, so the functionality for crud will now be working. The only thing left is we need to copy the whole articles folder and rename it accordingly and add the relevant form fields inside these for student. So if I copy the whole folder for inside the templates, paste it and rename it to student. Then the all.html.twig will show all the students. So let us just make some small changes. It should be student, not article. You can even pass these variables from the twigs, but let us do it hard coded this way. First, student new, add new student. So this will show all the students. Let us try if those two records are shown. So it will be student / all. Okay, so we are able to get the two students, but here you can see the names are missing, means we need to change the output variables as well. The record does not have the title, it has the name, because the table has the name property. So if I refresh it now, so you can see these are the two students. Now if I click on add new student, so again you can see title and description, because these are coming from the article, so we will have to change this to relevant form field. So I will go to the new in, this is the new one, we'll change it to name. The name should be name, label should be for name, and the process should be student / process. You can automate this via variables, but I am doing it hard coded at the moment. Then the description is father name, maybe we can make it interests, because interest can be more, so we will make it text area, interest, submit student, or maybe add student. Okay, let us copy this one and make it father name. And this will be father name, and then email. So this is going to be email. If I refresh the form now, so it was a name, father name, email, and interest. Remember, these are just the form changes we have made. We won't be if there are no errors, we won't be making any changes in the submit scripts and all that. So if I just save it, probably it should go to all the students. So maybe Kamran, father name is Khan, email is Kamran Khan at gmail.com. This is an interests are cricket, hockey, and something like this, and add student. So it goes to student for view. Again, we are not able to see the student which has been submitted, so what we can do is we can go to the view template and just output the variables accordingly. So if I go to the view is single.html. Even we can change it to view.html, right? So it should be record.name, record.father name, and similarly we can have other variables also. This is email, and this is going to be interests, and we will change it to edit this student, and it should be student. These are just changing the URLs, okay? Delete the student, delete the student, and then all students. So if I refresh the page, Kamran, this is father name, this is email, and these are the interests. Maybe we have some tags here which are not closed or something like that. Let us fix this also. So in the view single, this must be coming from somewhere, some unclosed tags. Okay, this one and this one. Let us make it div also. So Kamran Khan, this and this is one record, right? You can edit it. Okay, so editor also needs some changes because now we are not able to see all the fields. So one quick way is to just copy the new.html form. This is the action for it. And by the way, you can include a form twig also, so that you don't duplicate things, but for now this is fine. So if I go to update.php, this is the fine. Remember, the action should be record id and update. So just paste it here. The form action is this, and we will change the method to student record.id and update. That's it. I will remove the older form and save. So if the page is refreshed now, student 4 edit should have all the values, and to output the values, what we need is we need to have a value attribute. The value should be record dot name dot father name record the father name. Then we should have label spellings are also wrong. And the email should be record.email, and the text area should be text area interest. So hopefully this will be working. So now Kamran Khan, this and this, and if I submit it, we are on the, I edit it again and I make it PHP, so it's working fine. Now it's the turn for deleting a record. Let's see if it is working. So if I delete this, and we are on the delete page now, so you can, the first problem is this article, so we need to change it to the student as well. So if I go to the delete one, this, and it should be student, delete this article, this student, and should go to student record ID, remove. Okay, so let's do it if it works. I'll go back and edit this student. Update this student, so the button should be update student. I'll go back to the edit one. Okay, so if I refresh it, so it will be now update student. If I delete this and go to yes, so that has been deleted. Student all. If I click on ISA and edit this student, this, for example, let's check things. So for example, if this and these are left empty and I update it, let us see if we are getting any errors. So we are getting errors, but there is a problem. The problem is that these two fields are still populated and we had left them like this. Why is this so? Because probably there is some problem with sending the data to this page again from the controller once there are some errors. So let us check it. We'll go to the entity controller and then maybe update or delete method. Update, edit, okay. And we have that date as well. So if record, so you can see we are sending the record back rather than the data. It should have the post values. So if a post value is empty, it should be shown in the data attribute data. So here we should have data and not the record probably. So if I just check it now, I am again on the, maybe if I go to all of them, edit the student, if I leave father name empty and click on update student, so I get the error and this is gone. So this is how it should be. I think we have fixed it. Okay, so if I delete it, if I go to all and delete the student, for example this first one, delete this student, and if I click on yes, let us see what happens. So it gets deleted, it's working fine. If I click on new and so this gets added. If I go to all students, these are there. Hopefully everything is working fine. There is one problem now, and that is, if for example I delete Salman, the path is student 5 delete, and then it will delete this if I click on yes, and the URL is, if you go to its action for delete forms action from the twig, this is delete. So the form action is student record ID and remove, student record ID and remove. Similarly for articles it should be articles slash record ID slash remove. So if we access this URL, let us do it now, hard coded. If we access this, inside the, it should be student slash 5 slash remove. So 5 is that student actually. Let me go back. This is Salman. So if I access student slash 5 slash remove directly in the URL, it will be a get request basically. Let me zoom this URL for you. So if we access student slash 5 slash remove here directly in the URL, and that gets deleted. So anybody can do so, and this is very dangerous. We should not be doing so, because this deletion should come from the form. Once the form submit is clicked and the form method is post, this is post. In other words, it should not be get when this URL is called, and this is a flaw or a bug in our application, and we need to quickly fix this so that no records are deleted from the URL or issuing the get requests. This is not the way out. So we should be restricting our routes via get or post parameters also, so that for example we don't allow the use of this with the get method, and we can fix this, and this is how we should do it. If you remember, if we go to the route in our framework, the router.php, it has this method. You can go through all the code again. So the public function match returns the path, just a path. Okay, so we can have another parameter which is method. So it will either be post or get. Okay, so the match should be passed another method which is another parameter which is method, and then if you come to the dispatcher, now we are since we have changed the system to the request system, inside the request this match URL is, even now you can see a line below the match, because now it respects two parameters. So URL is this request URI, and this should be, even we can assign the method to $, because we are passing the request already to this. So this dot request dot method, And if you remember, sorry, this is not this, we are passing the request to this, so it should be request method. And if you remember, in the request class we had created a method object for this purpose actually. So now this method should be passed to the URL as well, like this. So it will be this method will be either post or get, whatever, once the routes are being matched. Now in the main routes.php, this is routes.php, because this is a very generic route controller slash action. Right now it is being fulfilled. For now let us move it to the bottom, sorry, not this one, we have been using this one, controller, this and action. So we'll create a new one and move it to the top of the page. Let us copy this one quickly. I will test it with student for now. So student slash whatever is the ID and then action, but the action also should be remove. I want to do it for remove for the time being, just to make you understand how it should work. For now let me comment this out, because this is quite a generous one, the route. So we should, for all entities we can have such routes, student, this regular expression in the, and then remove, add, whatever are the controller actions, so we can add all of those here. For now I'll just check remove. So student ID this, so the second parameter, if you remember, is an array like this, any array like this. So let me just quickly copy this one. So it's going to be, the controller should be student and action should be remove, right? But the method should be, we will have a third one now. So method should be post. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that we are passing a new parameter with the route, and it is post. So if post matches it in the URL matcher method, we will let the route matched, but otherwise it will be route not found. So this is an extra feature we have added now. Student ID remove, and it should be controller student action remove, and method is post. So if I go to the match method in the framework, this is this. So we just created a second parameter of method for it in the path. So here it is matched basically. This is the combined array. What if I just dump it for now, and rather dd will be, or maybe dumping is fine. So combine underscore array. If I dump it, let us see what happens. First let us create a few students. Because we won't have any data. So if I go to student 6 slash remove, so you can see it has an extra parameter now, which is post. By the way, we are not doing it right. So if I go to, ignore the other errors, if I go to the routes.php, maybe we are closing, the controller is this, action is this, method is post. controller is there. Action is removed and method is equal to post. So how is it outputting it? Oh, so we are closing the comma somewhere else, so should be method post. So if I refresh the page, and now you can see it's method post, and student 6 remove. So with this URL the method is post. We have in the route the requirement we have specified is the method should be post. Now we have to check it here in the router.php, this one below this. So if the method is not equal to what we are getting here in the value pass, so for example if the method passed is get, and in this array we have post, it should not be returned as a matched. So what we can do is if array underscore key underscore exists, if array underscore key underscore exists, this what should exist? Method. So if method exists, where in the name of the array, this combined array, like it existed now. So what we can do, if this method equals this method, then if it is not equal, then we should continue the loop of checking for the routes. So if array underscore key exists, method combined array, and then if combined array method equals whatever has been passed to this method, match method. So it will be either post or get from the request variable. So if it is not equal to this, so we should move to the next iteration. Let's continue, because we are looping through all the arrays here of the all the routes here. So if it is not equal to this, if it is get and in the method we have post, so we will continue to the next one. It means it won't be matched. So for example, if I just now refresh, so it says no route found, but if I change it to let us first check all the students. So Isa is 3, so 3 slash remove, so it says no route found, but if I change it to one more thing, because we don't know how are the get and post case specified, so we can make it string to lower for both. So that there is no problem with the case. So string to lower method is not equal to string to lower this, so continue. Now if I change it to in the routes, if I change it to get rather than post, so if I access it in the URL again and that student has been deleted, let me check it again. I will add a few more students because we have removed the route, so just ignore it for now. So if I go to 7 and remove, it will remove it again. But if I change it back to post now, and click on this, so it will be route not found exception. So hopefully we have set up this method of post as well, so that only the form based deletions occur and not from the URL or any get requests. And you can add all of these routes again. So for example, we will not use any post or get for the view 1 student this and view. The route should be the action should be view. Now we can be able to see the 7th student. We have some problem here. So now the 7th student is visible for us, and if we try removing it again, it will throw the route not found exception. So this is working fine now. Nobody can delete it via the get, and it's an extra security measure as well, and a professional attitude towards deleting records from the database. So that's all for today, and we have a last piece of class left in this framework. In fact, there can be a lot of them, but for now this is okay before we move on to Symfony in this course. Thank you very much.